people who see at this time, people who are smart enough to look at history. That's all I do is say, look at history. There's cycles. There are, when you see an economy look like this, everybody says, well, the economy's better than ever. What do you think Japan looked like at the end of 1989 before they had their biggest crash in history? 30 years later, they've never made a new high in their stock market. 30 years later, they struggle to grow 0 to 1%. Zombie economy. They're doing everything we're doing. We ignored their crash. Oh, that was just Japan. And we ignored their failed policies to deal with it. We're doing the same damn thing on a 20-year lag. And we deserve to go through this. I tell investors, you cannot change this. There's no politician's going to change this. Nobody's going to face this while they're in office and have this thing fall apart and make them look horrible. It's just going to have to happen. You just have to get out of the way. You get out of the way, cash, high quality treasury bonds. Treasury bonds, cash preserves your money. Treasury bonds are the safe haven. And it's not gold. Gold would be the safe haven if inflation was going to be the outcome here. Inflation is going to go down once the economy goes down. Treasury bonds are a 30-year treasury bond is the best single investment to make money when all the other bubbles burst, because corporate bonds have risk. Anything that risks. High yield bonds have a lot of risk. Stocks have the most risk. Real estate has risk. All those things go down in the highest quality long-term bonds. And people say, well, how can you make money on a 2% 30-year treasury bond? I'll tell you how. 2% goes to near zero. You know, that bond will go up if we go from 2% 30 year locked into zero, up 40 to 50% in a matter of a year.
Wow. How does being global affect any of this?
Well, this is a global bubble. This is not only the greatest bubble in history that now has been extended to a whole nother stage that the Roaring 20s wasn't. This is like the Roaring 20s that gets a decade added to it. We've added over a decade to this bubble by all this stimulus. Everybody, all central banks are, we're printing the least money. Only in this recent COVID crisis did we print more. Japan has printed 3 to 4 times what we have compared to their economy. Europe, 50% more. They have worse demographics, so they have a bigger hole. So this is a global printing thing, a global demographic slide in the developed countries. And when we do bottom in this a few years from now, the countries to invest in will be Southeast Asia and India. Those are going to be the next China. China's already down in demographics for the rest of history, and they do have some more urbanization, but they've overbuilt their infrastructures and housing so much. 22% empty homes in China, okay, in the cities. They built enough to go from 60 to 80% urban and peak urban and never have to build anything again. So China is not going to come back stronger than ever. Southeast Asia, India, and aging industries, like I would still buy things like nursing homes in the United States. Our baby boom is going to keep getting older till they all die in 2040.
Right. It's
so aging industry, but only the millennials will never take us to the heights that the baby boom did.
You know, Harry, this is just fascinating stuff to me. Just because I followed you for years, and like clockwork, man. And I've interviewed you once before, like clockwork. Your predictions have come true. So how long do you think this is going to last? When do you think it's going to start, and when do you think it's going to last? Approximately.
Well, on my best cycles, and I've really refined them over the last 30 years. I started off with the demographic cycle and have added one after the next, but you know, only 3 or 4. Anybody that's got 20 cycles has too many. Okay, the best models in all of history, which I get from scientists, not from economists.
Right.
Have 3 variables, maybe 4. I have 4 variables. Okay. A technology cycle, a demographic cycle, a geopolitical cycle, and a decennial boom bust cycle, which looks like a charm. And of course, that one's negative 2020 to 22 as well. So normally this would have peaked around early last year and then crashed stocks into late next year, 2022, and then we'd have had a hangover in the economy well into 2023, then we come into the next boom. And the next boom by demographics in the developed countries would be 2023 to 2037 roughly, okay, before we have the next slowdown. So that's the cycle. Well, we pushed this off. So if we peak here in mid to late, I think we could be peaking right about here, late July and at the latest September. That just means we probably have to crash harder and stronger into late 2022, and the hangover will be more into 2023. I would guess now the crash is still the worst into late 2022. There's a hangover in the stock market like early 2009 and in the economy through 2023. And we come out of this economically 2024.
And does this affect, like will this affect people? Will people lose their home or job? I mean, what does it look?
Yeah. Okay. Take what happened in 2008. People were losing their homes. They were defaulting. Home prices went down more than they did in the Great Depression because we didn't have so much leveraged mortgage buying back then and bubble. The housing was not the bubble in the Roaring '20s. It was more stocks and farmland. It was a farm bubble. So it's the same thing. You're going to have higher unemployment. Last time it was 11. Let's say this time it's 15%. Home prices went down 34%. That's the average home. So think what a high-end home or condo did. And this time it'll be 40 to 50%. Stocks went down 56% last time. This time it'll be 80%, give or take. So everything is more and deeper. And it'll probably last time, that recession before they cut it off was only, I think, about a year and a half, okay, 17 months.
Right.
This one will probably be more like 2 years. The Great Depression crash was closer to 3 years. But I think this will happen faster because they bubbled it up more. The more tension you create, the bigger, so the more you stretch the rubber band, the faster it comes back. So it's going to be like that. So yeah. I think the worst is going to happen in the next year and a half, but we don't really come out of the haze until the beginning of 2024. So the next 2.5 years, get safe, get out of the way, be in safe investments. Don't go buy a boat, save your pennies, be a good boy and girl. And you'll come out way ahead, because it's one thing to preserve your money like Joseph Kennedy did, 29. He just got out and then bought back in the early 30s. It's another thing to be in these treasury bonds and actually see your money grow when everything else is falling. So your money grows with the treasury bonds, and at the end of it, you go back and buy the best real estate and stocks again. But I'm telling people, everything worked in the 80s and 90s in this past boom. Next time, you're going to have to concentrate in Southeast Asia, India, and places like that, and aging industries in countries like the U.S. and Europe.
You're so passionate about this. I love it. I just love it. And how did you get started? Like where did you grow up? How did you even get interested in this stuff?
Well, how do all inventions happen? By accident, I had a vision in my finance class. My favorite professor in college, finance professor, I had this vision that there's cycles in the economy. So why do investors and businesses invest the most at the end of the cycle? Because they're idiots. Because they don't understand cycles. They don't see them building. And everybody wants to think that we can grow on a straight highway to heaven, okay? And that's what central banks try to do. That is erroneous policy. You can't grow. You have to grow. You have to wake and sleep, Yeah. You have to grow and then consolidate and get rid of the garbage, okay? And that's what recessions do. Recessions are the most important thing. All the innovations in history happen in downturns, not in upturns, all the important ones, okay? So we're trying to obviate a natural cycle. We should be augmenting that cycle, better investments and policies in the upturn. And hey, when it starts to happen, the stimulus I would give as a government in this downturn, only give help to banks who write down loans to consumers and businesses and relieve us of this excess zombie debt.
See, I have a friend I actually have a couple of friends who are the ones that do all the paperwork for the loans and for homes, and a guy and a girl, and they both have said that like loans are going through for people that have like no business.
Just say you make this much. Oh, just say you did this. Yeah. Or we'll ignore this. We'll keep that. No, and that's the way it was back in 2000 in the first real estate bubble and crash. And so this is what happens. The problem with people is the longer things go up, the more confidence they have in the trends. Smart money people think the opposite. They know there's cycles. They know people go nuts the longer thing. So the more they see a boom build up, the more suspicious they get. That's smart money thinking.
Yeah, smart.
1% think like that. Everybody else thinks, well, this has gone so long, and last time it happened, they bailed us out, so you can't lose. When you think you can't lose, you're going to